All right, if you are watching this one, there is a very high chance that I am in Paris, okay? The reason is because there's two reasons you'd be watching this video. One is that you are a good friend or family member who appreciates me and is watching in 2025, okay? Let's give that a 1% chance, okay? Reason number two is that I have succeeded in my quest. I'm a famous politician, and I am currently vacationing back to Paris. I've returned, okay? A decade later. And there's been a giant hurricane in my home state of New York because global warming has moved. There's no more Florida, that's underwater. But the hurricanes, they hit New York every week now, okay? And I'm supposed to be over there, personally delivering first aid kits. And I'm in Paris instead, enjoying myself. And I've pointed you to this video so that you can watch it and be even more mad at me because it's not a very empathetic video. And if I actually do this, that wouldn't be a very good politics move. But okay, anyway, intro aside, we're talking about politicians on vacation today. So there's a big theme that comes up whenever any politician goes on vacation. And people are like, oh no, this politician's on vacation. He needs to be handing out food stamps right now. He needs to be, how is this state gonna run? And you probably can tell from my inflection that this is a really bad criticism. And I think it's a fundamentally bad criticism. It's super bad. One of the things that makes America great and special and one of the best countries on earth, right, is contrast with someone like Putin, right? A couple predecessors ago, one of the Russian leaders, whose name I'm forgetting, he goes on vacation, okay, and they lock St. Peter, the Moscow and St. Petersburg, they lock up all the buildings. They fucking surround his vacation house, and they're like, peace, buddy, you're not in charge anymore. Like, we're doing a little coup, right? There's not enough stability to transfer the power that you're holding. When you leave the seat of power, and the power's, kind of split, you're not really using it right now, you're on vacation. It's not a stable system. It's not easy to transfer that power around. It takes too much to control it. So, we don't have that here, right? Like in America, everything is delegated. The people lend their power to the government. Our leaders borrow that power and they use it. And when they go on vacation or they step down, which they do very, very often because, either their term ends or they want to see whatever this guy is in beautiful Paris, they pass it on to their vice person or to their cabinet or to their successors, and there's no problem, right? It's no worries. You don't need the president to walk over and hand out first aid kits for the first aid kits to be delivered. You don't need any one leader to be in place for the system to take care of the people, for the power to be deployed in the way the people need it to be deployed, right? The leader's job is to do what they can while they're there. And then when they're not there, to pass the buck, right? Not to pass the buck, that means to pass the blame, but to pass the burden, pass the responsibility. Yeah, you know what? To pass the buck to the next person, while they're holding on to the responsibility, obviously it's to the maximum extent. You're not passing the buck while you're sitting in the chair. But if you need to step away, that's okay, And I think it's a good thing, and I think it's a blessing for the country. It's an honor, and it's something we should celebrate and not shit on every time a candidate goes on vacation. And then it's also kind of a side note, but family's important, friends are important. You don't want a leader. This is kind of the move transitioning into a second argument against the vacation criticism. Is like you don't want to have a leader who's like dead, empty, hollow inside, doesn't know what their people want, doesn't know what it's like to be a person, Like, you want to have your deep, rich connections with your friend and family and with the world and, and see it and enjoy it. And then you want to be like, oh, this world's pretty cool. Maybe I should, set it up so that other people can see it and enjoy it. You don't, I don't know. I just think there is a place for the gremlin style, work 12 hours a day, but one of the criticisms politicians get is oh, they're so disconnected. And it's I don't know if taking a flight to the middle of Paris is a very connect to the people kind of activity, but going around the States, going around Paris, just being a person for a little bit. I don't know, just valuing something outside of the power accumulation. I think that's what I'm really getting at. Is like just doing things outside of power accumulation. I think is super important. Because if you're just a power accumulator, it's scary, right? There's no way to tell the difference between you and Kash Patel and, you know, JD Vance and, you know, to be fair, I'm getting away from the original topic, but I just want to be fair to JD Vance because I'm a really fair guy, okay? He has a real political project that he's working towards. He's not like a pure, when I say power accumulator, just someone who has no political project, doesn't care about anything. Donald Trump would be a good example. He's like an egomaniac power accumulator. He just wants more power, more ego, more craziness. Who else? That girl, the press girl for him, Pam Bondi. These people, not like girl is separate and then Pam Bondi separate. These people are like pure power accumulators. Kash Patel, actual power accumulator. They're just like more power, more power, more power, more power, more power. All right, I'll end the video on that beautiful segment of my mouth.